All right, Brendan, welcome to the show. Great to have you on today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to connect with you and everybody tuning into this.
Yeah, I want to jump right in here because obviously your name has been going around the social creative strategy realm for a while. You gained 1 million followers in 30 days to prove that you have a system that actually works. What did that kind of teach you about attention that a lot of creators and brands to this day may not exactly get right now?
So I think that one of the big things is that the attention is possible. I think some people see social media as this mystery black box. It's playing the lottery, or that you have to do some silly TikTok dance video to garner attention. But the reality is every single one of us have this tool that we put in our pocket that gives us the power to reach the masses. 25 years ago, before social media, this tool wasn't available. So I think first and foremost, it is possible and the impact can be massive. Now, I will say just because you garner attention doesn't mean it translates into business. You have to garner attention in the right way to, drive actual tangible results and the goals that I assume most entrepreneurs are going after when they try and tackle one of these platforms.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I run into a lot of business accounts, for example, or like social accounts on TikTok, Instagram, that are trying to gain attention for some sort of business. And I've talked with business owners, and a lot of the time they say, like, right, I gained like 50,000 followers or 100,000 followers, but sometimes that's really tough to translate that to actual sales or whatever they got to do after that. So, how do you recommend that they take a following that they've built, especially on a platform like TikTok, where attention is so hard to get, and convert that into actual people being interested in their product?
Well, number one, the content has to be relevant to what you're trying to achieve. Like as you mentioned, there's people that will do something, whether it's a trend or something that is probably not related to their expertise. They blow up that way, and then it's hard to translate it. So first and foremost, I just want to kind of state that like any subject matter can go viral. Like taxes go viral, nutrition, law, real estate. So if you're in a niche and you're like, well, I need to do something else because people aren't interested in that, first know that your core expertise, your core subject matter can break through, so you don't have to kind of go off and do things it's not related to. So that's number one.
Right.
Number two, you have to be prepared for it. Like you need to understand, well, is your website optimized? Is your email set up? Are you able to capture emails? Like, do you have the actual nuts and bolts of the foundation of the business that can actually take advantage of that attention when it comes? I've been in the space for 20 years and I've seen people take millions of followers and turn them into billion-dollar businesses. And I've seen people with millions of followers that barely make six figures off of it. And it's really that underlying foundation that you build to support the attention once you have grabbed it.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, I think that really helps a lot of businesses like apply the, okay, right, you got the following, and now what do you do with them kind of metric. And you've had kind of a long experience of working with different entities, whether it's like a celebrity or a business or a creator, to help their following. Is it a lot easier to take an established creator or an established celebrity and grow their following than it would be for just like somebody starting out from scratch? I'm sure it would be.
Well, there's layers to that question. So if you have an audience, it's easier to scale it. But when you're dealing with celebrities, you're dealing with professional athletes, you're dealing with big influencers, the challenge actually becomes a mindset perspective. Because if you really want to take it to that next level, you have to change the way you do things. And there is either resistance that comes into place from the actual individual or the teams that you're working with that are surrounding that individual. With that said, like, if you understand how to tell compelling stories, like you literally can start from zero and build an audience. So when I started in social media in 2005, there's less than 50 million people on the platform. Today, there's 5.4 billion. So there's far more competition for attention. However, 99% of the people that are creating content for these platforms don't really know what they're doing. They're not kind of really studying like what it takes to tell a compelling story that breaks through. So if you really learn the fundamentals of storytelling, how to grab and hold attention, it is definitely achievable. I'm not saying it's like a 10x multiple difficulty to do it. I would say oftentimes, as I mentioned, it's more difficult to scale somebody that already has that because there's a mindset barrier there. Oftentimes, I enjoy working with people starting from zero, starting from scratch, because they're kind of open-minded, and you can have massive success very quickly if you get things dialed in.
Yeah, and let's talk about growing that and kind of capturing attention, because I think that's one of the biggest things a lot of people have a pitfall over is the first 3 seconds, the hook, whatever you want to label it as. Creating that for every video or every piece of content in order to draw somebody in. What are some tips you have nowadays for creating a good hook to lure people in, but also kind of being able to build a connection with that person?
Yeah, so the first kind of macro thing that I'll say that I think will be extremely helpful is there's this inundation of tips and tricks and hacks that are put out there. For just the next few minutes, just push all of that aside and ignore it. The reality is these platforms, they only care about one thing. They are not out to get you. They're not out there to suppress your reach to get you to boost your post. If that were the case, Mr. Beast wouldn't be the most subscribed person on YouTube. It'd be Apple or IKEA or Pepsi, one of these companies that spend billions of dollars a year advertising.
Right.
These algorithms, these platforms care about one thing, keeping on the people on the platforms longer so they can serve more ads. So if we look at human history, the one thing that has captured people's attention is stories. We've been telling stories. The first story ever told was 50,000 years ago. Stories have built everything around us, everything that we see. So when we look at social media, ignore everything else and focus on like, how do you become the best storyteller possible? Think of social media as kind of survival of the fittest for the best storyteller. If you focus on that, you will win. Now, as it pertains to your question of like, well, how do we master a hook? How do we master the first few seconds to grab somebody's attention? There's a few different principles to look at. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they try and do too much in those first few seconds. So they'll have like a title above their head, they'll have captions, they'll be talking or moving at the same time. The challenge with that is the subconscious needs to have a clear visual hierarchy of what to pay attention to. Like you can have three things on the screen, but it needs to be intelligently designed where it clearly to the subconscious brain, it says, this is priority one, this is priority two, this is priority three. So you need to make sure that you're not overwhelming people, because if the subconscious mind thinks that they are falling behind, they're just going to scroll to the next video. The next thing is making sure that you're setting a very clear expectation of what the viewer is going to get from this video that they haven't heard or seen before. Now, the challenge is everything has been done, everything has been said, and it's been said thousands, if not millions of times. Sure. So the exercise and the challenge is how can you take your zone of genius and hook people in those first 3 seconds to demonstrate that I may know something about this subject matter or have heard it, but this is a unique perspective. I feel like there's going to be a unique payoff or something that I haven't seen before.
Look, I'm going to be straight with you. Everybody's talking about AI, but most people are just playing around with ChatGPT instead of actually making money from it. That's why we dropped the ultimate crash course to create your own AI side hustle in 7 days. We're talking real frameworks and strategies from the pros like the founder of The Hustle, Sam Parr. It includes mini guides, templates, the whole 9 yards, stuff that takes years to figure out, condensed into 1 week. Stop what you're doing right now and grab it in the show notes. Your future self will thank you.
Everything has been done before, but giving a customized, personalized kind of thing at the end of it that gives them like, oh, this is a unique perspective or this is a unique point of view. I think that's very valuable to have, because if you're just recycling what people have already said, once again, your stuff's not going to get picked up because nobody's going to want to continue watching it or watch the full amount. And when you talk about like posting things on different platforms, I definitely want to get some intel here between, for example, a video on Instagram, a video on TikTok, a video on YouTube. Can you talk a bit about how to deal with cross-platform posting? And if obviously you hear something a lot about, don't post the same thing to all the platforms, or don't do this, don't do that. What do you say about cross-platform?
It's a great question. So the first place I start is, let's focus on one platform and master that platform. Let's just take like short form content. Instagram Reels, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts can feel like it's the same thing, but it's completely different. There's different user behavior, there's different user interface, and these subtle things dictate which performs on which platform. So what I say in kind of in the work that we do is like, let's focus on mastering one and get that process, get that experience under our belt. And then we can go and master the other platforms. With that said, if you're focusing on mastering Instagram Reels, for example, I'm not saying don't post on TikTok the same video or YouTube Shorts. Like, you can definitely do that. Just don't expect like those to perform in the same way. So it's really just kind of prioritizing one to master the skill set of, the process and skill set of telling a story and breaking through on a consistent basis. And then you can take that skill set and learnings to the other platforms.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For you, since 2005 being a person on social media and just analyzing this field, what do you think makes a piece of content go viral, quote unquote, in this day and age? And where do you see kind of the attention economy going in the future? Do you think it'll change a lot even from now?
I like to define going viral as the intended outcome that you're trying to get out of a piece of content. So going viral for some people may be 50,000 views. For others, it may be 500,000. For others, it may be 5 million or 50 million. The core aspect that I look at in terms of virality is that content driving the intended outcome or the business result that we're going after? If it doesn't, then it doesn't really make a difference, and I'm not interested in it. It could be classified as going viral, but if it's not having the impact on your goals, ultimately you're going to burn yourself out and not continue down that path. In terms of what causes content to break through, disrupting the pattern, which we talked about, is seeing something that you haven't seen before in a unique way, giving a unique perspective shift in a subject matter typically helps, making sure that there is tension built into the story that you're telling. And that tension doesn't need to be like arguing or yelling. There's like subtle tension that you can build throughout. And then structure. Structure causes virality, consistent virality. So my team has spent about 15,000 hours researching different structures across social media. We call them formats. There are very clear formats that drive consistent results and success. So we've analyzed over 500 of these, and there's thousands of them out there. But the best piece of advice I could give people listening to this if they want to break through is, number one, understand that there is a clear blueprint. It is called a format. Again, there's thousands of these. Find your format and then spend time understanding how and why that breaks through. So my background, I started in the film industry. I went to film school. I wanted to be a movie producer, and I show up at film school. And what do? They make you sit down and watch classic movies and break down what made this movie successful, what made this movie unsuccessful. They also make you learn how to act, how to write, how to direct, all of these different elements that equate to a successful story. So people look at virality on a surface level. Oh, that video has 10 million views, but that's the tip of the iceberg. There's 99% of the people that try and do what that person did fail. So you've got to understand the difference between succeeding with that format versus failing with that format. So to give you an example of like what a format is that I'm sure everybody has seen is man on the street.
Right.
You approach a random stranger on the street and you engage with them. It's used for entrepreneurship, for finance, for chefs, for photographers. It's, these formats are structures and any content can go into it. Now, again, 99% of people that will try that format will fail with it. Why? Because they don't spend the time to understand what makes it successful versus unsuccessful. In addition, just an ending thought on that is when I said stories kind of repeat themselves and have been around, the first time that format was used was in 1954 for the first season of The Tonight Show. So this format has been around for 70 years, and it still generates billions and billions of views. Why? Because the format works. Like social media being successful and consistent is not reinventing the wheel. Is you understand the structures that allow us to break through and tell stories that have consistent basis. That is like the number one piece of advice I could give people if they're looking for virality or breakthrough success.
Awesome. Well, Brendan, that's a great sum up of today. Thank you so much for being here and giving us some information that we could all use. I really appreciate it, and good luck with your ventures from here on.
Yeah, it was a true pleasure to connect with you and everybody tuned into this. So thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Okay, that's going to do it for us today, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of Hubspot Media. Our editor is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go sign up at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at thehustledaily. We'll catch you later.